Life happens, and our experiences lead us down different paths that we may have never even imagined. Our course can change in an instant, and our purpose and passion can shift. Rather than focus on the question of what is your passion, today I raise a glass and the question of what is your contribution. I've invited along Houston, Texas native singer-songwriter Sharita Perez, and also Rochester, New York native, New York City comedian and actress Madeline Smith. I'm Amanda Ashley, I'm your host, and this is Afternoon Cocktail, episode 36, Passion. Thank you for tuning in. Hey, Miss Sharita Perez, you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, lady. Thank you for being a part of our show today. So what are you going to perform for us?
I'm going to perform this song called Lucky Enough. It's about remembering what to be grateful for. And in my case, when I wrote the song, I was spending a lot of time in the redwoods, and it made me realize how amazing the moment can be if you focus on that. And then I wrote this song.
Lovely. Well, take it away.
If you're lucky enough to live among the redwoods, you're lucky enough. You're lucky enough. If you're lucky enough to live in peace, you're lucky enough. You're lucky enough. If you're lucky enough to know love, you're lucky enough. You're lucky enough. If you're lucky enough to have true friends, yes, you're lucky. You're lucky enough. Ooh, 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 I miss those days of summer praise. I want to drink them in like silk and sin. Yes, I feel like running, oh, something past. And these drifting days, they bring me to my last. If you're lucky enough to live among the redwoods, you're lucky. You're lucky enough, yeah. If you're lucky enough, yeah, you're lucky enough.
Yay! Awesome job, Sharita.
Thank you.
So, Sharita, tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, you're a native to Houston, Texas, or actually, you were born just outside of there, correct?
Yes, I am a native of Houston, Texas. I'm sorry,
Great.
was that the question? Somebody
No,
said in my audience over here.
no. So you were born and raised in Houston, Texas. I mean, when did you discover yourself through music and song?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Well, things were really rough on me when I was a kid, like a lot of people out there, and they were so really hard. There was no outlet, and there was people in my family, and they were dying. It was like several people in the area that I'm from, and there was no one to talk to about it. And I just started writing these lyrics and hearing these melodies. I would sit there and match. I was listening to the radio, and I'd match every artist I loved, and then the melody started coming to me, kind of like a ghost out of like the trees one day. That really the strongest one, and it was whispering to me, and then it hit like a freight train. And I looked over at my mother, and I was like, "Do you hear this?" And she didn't even look. She was just like, "Mom driving the car," like, "Mom driving the car." And I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm nuts. I guess I just hear these songs coming out of the woods now." And then it kind of just stayed with me, and eventually I was able to travel and tour with it. So it's kind of like the biggest blessing of my life.
So, did anybody in your family play music? Or I mean, where did you get your first guitar from, or did you first start on even guitar or piano or any other instruments?
Well, a long time ago, like my grandparents and their siblings, they played music like most people did back in the day. Um, but I never heard it really. I kind of heard my grandmother attempting to sing harmonies, but it was kind of like beaten out of her. But there was nobody in my family like me. My mom sang to me a lot when I was a child. Like the first song she sang to me that I remember was "You Are My Sunshine, My Only Sunshine." But yeah, it's just I'm like a freak of the family, I guess you could say.
That's okay. I know I'm one of those too. um,
Nice.
who do you consider to be your musical influences? Because when I listen to, so I watched a lot of your YouTube videos, and I listened to your recorded tracks on Spotify, and I mean your voice in some ways reminds me of like a Nora Jones, like a country. Like there's some parts, like some of your older music has like a little bit of that southern like country style to it, but then I hear like a little bit of Nora Jones. You have a little
Yeah.
like rock to you. I mean, who did you listen to?
Well, early on, I actually wasn't allowed to listen to maybe music past like mid 60s, I think, because they would only listen to the oldie station, and they were really Christian, so I didn't get exposed to like 70s music. And then I like moved out of my house early into this other household, and I got to hear like all of that great music, like the Doors and Jethro Tull and Janis Joplin, and then I got a hold of a Billie Holiday CD later on, and I had Sublime and a couple others, and I was stuck in this trailer in Pasadena, Texas, and at some point, and I just remember like pausing it and rewinding it and trying to match like every phrase they did, and so I think I have a lot of musical influences, but there's something I heard blues specifically from Benny Braskett and Burt Wills in Houston, Texas, and it kind of like live, and I'd never heard anything like that before. And they're very Gulf Coast sounding, so I think that Gulf Coast sound permeates everywhere in Houston, and it's like this, it's like this suffering and rising above tragedy kind of sound, and I try to, I feel it when I sing, so, and I think the tone of my voice, Nora Jones does country and jazz, and it's kind of smooth voice, so I could see that. Kind of depends if you get me on the late night show or the morning show, what kind of singer sits before you. I mean, like if we had a party and just had tequila shots, it gets pretty
Rock and roll,
loud and
rock
dirty,
and roll, Sharita.
pretty much, yeah.
I love it. So, Sharita, I mean, Austin and Houston are neighboring cities. I mean, I would imagine you probably spent a lot of time in Austin, especially as you're building your career.
Actually, I didn't, because like I spent a lot of my years being really sick. The area I was in, plus the doctors and weird medicine and all that, they ruined my digestive tract, which made me really sick for a long time, like bedridden and all this stuff. So I couldn't, when I was growing up and there was like no money, so I couldn't go to Austin. I didn't know anything about it. I was just so ignorant. I actually didn't play in Austin until I came back from New York. And then I started going and playing shows, but at one point, like I was homeless and living out of my car, and my car wouldn't make it to Austin, so that just never happened. But I think when I go back to Texas this next time after COVID, I'll probably book a San Antonio, a Houston, an Austin, and a Dallas. So I think the last time I played at a coffee shop in Austin, I really loved it. So we'll see what happens.
Very cool. Those are all really great cities too to, make a nice little Texas tour out of. What was your experience like in New York? I mean, where our home state, that's where we are now. So like, you lived in New York for, what was it, like 8 years?
Yeah, just like over 8 years. It feels like 10 years. But so I went there as this like, I didn't even know when I went there how to like look at people in the eye. Like I didn't. And my friend Alicia went 6 months ahead, and the plan was to like stay and play in New York City or to go to Berklee School of Music. I did get into Berklee School of Music, but circumstances didn't work out for me to go. But it was cool that I got in, and then I stayed in New York City, and I played Tammany Hall and the Cake Shop and the Bitter End and CBGB's. It was a really cool experience for me, and I just went from someone that was just like kind of like suburbanite country girl that doesn't know anything to like look you in the eye and tell you like get off my stage.
Yeah, New York will do that to you.
Yeah.
Hardened you up a little bit. Yeah.
It did, and I spent a lot of time in the subway like singing all these songs like You Only Live Twice and Astrid Gilberto and like Jeff Buckley, and it was cool because I had like an hour commute, so I'd sit there and I'd want the train to be empty at night, and then I could practice. It was nice. And I practiced guitar all the time, like a little travel guitar on my belt buckle, like, oh, I have to practice 12 hours a day to get the skills, so I'm going to do it.
So funny.
It was cool.
So, I mean, you've lived in, a few different cities, and we'll get to where you are now. But actually, let's get there now. So you're not in Houston, Texas right now. You just recently moved to Northern California. Right? You're up in the Redwoods. And where are you right now?
I am in a little town called Rio Del, and it's really cool. It's like, I don't know, like, there's like, I have this maintenance guy. He's like really sweet. He feeds the birds, and then my neighbors are all like just interesting. Like you'll have like artist type people around, and then you'll have like farmers. It's a farming community. It's really nice.
And you're actually farming, right? So could we talk about?
Oh,
all right,
yeah.
well, hold on a second before we get there. I think I'm getting ahead of myself. So today we're talking about passion, right? And one of the things I thought about this morning, I think like the type of conversation, I was thinking about the type of conversation I wanted to lead with this, because I think so often, passion could be a number of things. You could be passionate about cooking, you could be passionate about playing guitar, you could be passionate about business or the art of sales, right? It could be, depending on the person, it could be a number of things. But also, it made me think about the directions that life pulls you in. And, you were saying the other day when we were doing our sound check that, like life pulled you up towards the Redwoods for your reasons. And, you've kind of discovered a new passion about yourself, right? So you started farming. And can you tell us a little bit about this new journey that you're on?
Wow. So when I left from Houston, I started taking myself on tours. I ended up in this area, and I started realizing, the kind of community it is where people actually grow medicine, not just cannabis medicine, but food medicine. They have a different mindset, of growth, and being able to go up on mountains and grow cannabis for different various uses, and then see people being able to use it on a daily basis, and then learning how to make balm like this, and it relieves your pain, and it doesn't make you sick, and there's no weird smell, and I loved that. And coming here and playing, I played live on a mountain for a while, and then that led me to getting asked to play the first cannabis festival in New Zealand. And so I went from my time farming here to touring and playing over there, and then I kept learning about herbal and cannabis medicine and like just how they work to help people. And I think that there's something to be said for, you know, putting your hands back into the earth. It gives you a respect for what everything is made of. You can really follow the journey of the nutrients as they go from, you know, just a little seed and then into your body, whether it's food or used as a medicine. I mean, even like tomatoes, you know, it's not just cannabis, and we're animals, you know, we are in animal bodies. And I think that a lot of people don't know how to respect that anymore, and I think a lot of illness comes from that. And I think the world would be a much better place if we could all understand that and then respect ourselves and then respect others, you know, starting with the food, because that the energy I feel that we have, whether it be negative or positive, gratefulness or passion, that goes into the plants that we consume. And that's what I've learned from everybody on my journey, and I've seen it, you know. I've seen amazing situations, people getting rid of cancer quickly, people who are on opioids like not be on them and just like eat that bomb that I had, like eating it and they're fine, or even smoking it and it just kind of lets them be able to deal with stressful situations, you know. It's not all about getting high or getting a fix or consuming something. It's about nurturing your body in whatever way you can.
Interesting. It's so cool. I mean, and when I was reading about you, I read about your tour in New Zealand, and I thought that was the coolest thing. I mean, you've traveled, you've lived in a few different cities now. I mean, what would you say, I mean, how has your travels and these different moves in your life, how have they contributed to your personal growth? What has it taught you?
Wow. I think we were talking about this yesterday, resilience.
Yeah.
Like being resilient, like you are going to get knocked down. Like I could say don't think, like if you watch Disney, like that's just silly. That's only one day. The Disney happy ending is one day, but tomorrow might not be like that. You know, you're going to get knocked down, and then you got to make a choice. Like, are you going to feed your own positivity? You know, you're going to feed your soul and try to stay in a positive mind frame so you can lift yourself up, or are you going to like let your demons take over and push you down and get destroyed? And I learned that that's definitely a choice, and that we go through cycles. You know, you take an impact. It might take a minute to get back up. It's just like getting hit in the face. Resilience and recovery, you know what I mean?
Hope you don't get hit too hard, right?
Oh, that's okay. I'm like Rocky over here.
I love that. So, Sharita, I mean, you have 2 songs on Spotify. Could we expect more from you in the coming? I mean, I know right now is kind of a funny time to record, but I mean, what's up and coming for you?
Well, I have an unreleased album about cannabis and hemp medicine. And honestly, when I got back for the end of my tour from New Zealand, I was laid out flat, and I couldn't even go forward. So if you see, I haven't been on social media a lot. I've been getting up from that punch, and I think when it's time, I'll release that album. There's a lot of people that would like to see music from me, but I think it's doing the business part of it is just so distracting from the writing and the being okay with myself. And I think that's what's really the only thing between me and releasing that album or even releasing anything else. And the moment I can feel comfortable in that situation, I'll do it. But I think I'm more comfortable with the live video and or just releasing some videos on YouTube at this time. And I know that might sound like the opposite of what I'm supposed to say or what artists are supposed to do now, but I'm here to make myself and my friends and people happy around me, not to just serve, you know, the image of who I'm supposed to be as an artist in order to succeed.
Sharita, good for you, you know, and I'm happy that you said that because this is something I thought about, and I'll get into this a little bit later. But, you know, just because you're, you know, so often like when people ask you, like, what are you passionate about? Or, like, what's your purpose? Like, those are two questions that kind of go together in some way, or they're paired together. And when I think about it, just because you're a passionate musician and just because you're passionate about music, you love that, that doesn't mean that that passion also extends out to doing the business end of it. That doesn't mean like that's what you have to be. I mean, you're still doing and making a career for yourself, but it doesn't have to be so by the books. And good for you for living your life and taking your journey and doing
Thanks.
things at your pace. I think that's admirable.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, Sharita I'll tell you guys this. She has a YouTube page, which, do you know, what is it, Sharita? Is it like something? If you just look up Sharita Perez, you'll find a wealth of videos. And they're beautiful. They're really colorful. They're in different locations. And her voice is as organic as ever. And I really recommend you guys check that out. Also, she has two songs on Spotify, so make sure you listen to that as well.
I have 6.
6? Oh,
I have 6 songs.
I must have missed something. Okay.
It's okay. And I also have a website. It's sharitaperez.com. And so I'll probably put some updates up there, but you can see like the cannabis tour and all that stuff I did. And if anybody wants any information, just email me. I'll send you whatever information I can. Like if you have a loved one in jail and you want to get them out that got caught smoking cannabis, or if you want to find who makes cannabis medicine or how to do it, please contact me. I spend a lot of time finding that information, and I'd love to share it because it's life-saving.
Good for you, Sharita. I wish you the best of luck on your journey. And
Thank you.
Thank you for being on our show.
It's an honor.
So likewise. So Sharita, we're going to hear one more song for her towards the end of our program. Before I bring my next guest, I just want to throw a shout out to today's sponsors. We are an afternoon cocktail. This is our 2nd season. And we've picked up some awesome sponsors. So Electronic Merchant Systems, if you guys are in need of accepting credit card payments or any assistance with accepting credit card payments, see the Charge Card guys here in Rochester. Untamed Events, MissRebeccaDodge.com. She will help you get your party started for sure. Jewish Senior Life, hello to my residents. I hope you guys are having a beautiful day. Got to get your pizza in. It's Friday night. Salvatore's Pizzeria. Make sure you order your pizza this weekend from them. And thank you to the Sawmill at Blades. They're located on University Avenue in Rochester. Their full menu is up at bladesrock.com. And all right. So I have the pleasure of introducing you Miss Madeline Smith. She's a Rochester native, comedian, actress. Madeline, I think you might be... Oh, no, you're not.
No, I'm
there
good
you go.
now.
Yeah. I thought you were muted for a second.
Hi.
How are you?
I know, I'm
Hi.
sorry. I was so nervous about unmuting myself and ruining Sharita's music. So I was like, I'm just going to sit quietly for like a long time. But yes, I'm here now. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my God. Thank you so much. And I've been following you on Facebook for a while. I don't think you and I have ever actually met. But I know we have some mutual friends like in the area. And I think you're outstanding. You're so funny. And I just love seeing you climb the ladder. So let's talk about you. So right now you're in Rochester, New York, right?
Yeah, I'm staying with my parents right now. I actually kind of like did it backwards because like when COVID first hit New York City, all these people left, and like understandably so, but like all these people fled and they were like, we need to get out of here. This is really bad. We're going to go stay with our parents. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to stay. I was working my day job at the time. I was working as a nanny and I could walk to work. So I was like, I'll be fine. And then I stayed and then I got COVID. So it was like not
Oh my
smart.
God.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm okay now though. I'm okay. I did recover. It wasn't too, I mean, it was kind of bad for like a week and a half, but I'm good now. But yeah, at first I was not taking it seriously enough because I was like, oh, everyone's leaving it. They don't have to leave. It's going to be fine. And then like, I probably should have left too. So, but now I'm just chilling with my parents for a little while this summer. And it's been so nice to be back up in Rochester. And I bought a car so I can like drive around and go to all it's like, you can't really do very much obviously because things are closed, but I've been going to like all the parks and like, you know, like Chimney Bluffs and like the beach and all that. It's just beautiful up here. So I'm happy to be back for a little bit.
It truly is. This is like my favorite time. We've been lucky with weather too. And I mean, granted our circumstances, like there's no better time to take advantage of the beauty that's around us right now, like with Letchworth and even Corbett's Glen for someplace local, like, I don't know. We have so many beautiful parks around us. I love it.
Yeah.
So, what inspired you to get into comedy? Like, did you know early on in your life that, I mean, at some point you realize like that you love making people laugh, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, when I was a kid, I always really wanted to do like performance. But my parents, my mom especially, was very into like theater. Like she would always take us to local theaters like Blackfriars, and we would go see shows at Jiva. And like I was very lucky, we'd go see like the touring shows at Rochester Broadway Theater League, all that stuff. So I only really knew about performance in terms of like theater. I didn't really know about stand-up comedy. And then when I was like a teenager, my mom was super into Margaret Cho. So she had these like Margaret Cho DVDs, and I watched them and I was like, oh my God, like I didn't even know that this was like a thing that you could do. I remember I was like 15, I was like watching it like crying because I was like, oh my God, like I didn't even know that women could like be comedians. Like the only comedians I knew about were like Bill Cosby, which is like bad, but like I didn't know that was a thing. So it was so cool, so amazing. And then when I was like a teenager, I really wanted to do it, but I was scared until I was like 23. And then I was like, I'm gonna do it. So I finally started doing comedy when I was 23, after I had wanted to do it for probably 5 or 6 years, but I had been too nervous to get out there.
I give comedians so much credit. Like anybody who decides to, enter that field, or even just to go to an open mic for one. Like it's one thing to like, every so often, like I'll say a funny thing. I would never consider myself like a very funny person, but like, like I just think of all the open mics I've gone to for music and how much courage it took at certain points and the confidence that I needed to build on. And I just think like for somebody to step on stage with people just kind of with their arms crossed, like make me laugh, like sitting there, and everybody's humor is so different. I mean, did you ever have, did you ever really just bomb a performance that it made you question like what you were doing, or, it made you think like maybe I shouldn't do this?
Yeah, yeah. When I first started, I think that I had a lot of advantages because like I hadn't done stand up before, but I had been doing theater for a really, really long time. And I went to Fredonia for musical theater. So like I had a college degree in theater. So I didn't feel like nervous so much like about stage presence. It was more about, writing good jokes and like seeing if I could take my funny stories and turn them into jokes that made sense. But when I first started, like I was at the comedy club out in Webster, and the guy who runs it, Mark Ippolito, he was like very encouraging to me. So he started giving me spots to open up for headliners. And it was very nice of him, but like I was probably too new to really be doing that because like I started out so strong. And then when I was doing these opening spots, I was only, like 3 or 4 months into doing stand up. And I had one show where I was opening for Rachel Feinstein. And it was like I had been doing really well for a few months. And then I just performed to like silence. Like the comedy club was full, but it was like dead silence. And it was like the longest like 5 to 7 minutes of my like life. And my parents were there and I was like, ah! But I think that having that happen makes you a little bit, more resilient. And then like since then I haven't had anything quite that bad, but there's definitely times where like people are talking, not paying attention, and then you have to do crowd work, engage them so that they will pay attention. And now it doesn't usually happen, but I think anyone can bomb at any point, even if you've been doing stand-up for like 10 years.
Sure. I mean, I would just imagine that takes like a resilience like no other, like it's a shot to your, I mean, well, especially like as any kind of performer, like you go there and you look for that instant gratification, right? You want those claps, you want those laughs, and when you don't get it, sometimes it's just like, oh no, like I suck, I'm terrible, like should I do this? Like what am I doing? I've had moments like that in my career, I couldn't imagine. It seems like you're in such a more vulnerable position just standing there, trying to make people laugh. So I commend anybody who gets into comedy for that reason. I think it takes a lot of courage. So you had mentioned a few of the people that you opened up for. Alice Wetterland was another one, Rich Voss. I mean, any of those people that you've opened for, did you have any like special encounters with, or any funny moments that you shared, or was it just more in passing?
Well, when I was new, I was like opening up for a lot of people, and like most of them are super, super nice, but there was also a thing where like the comedy club will bring in like road dog kind of guys. Like I think Rich Voss is a good example of that. Guys who have been doing stand up for like, you know, like 30, 40 years. They're very like road weary. And when I was hosting for him or something, I remember like going back to the green room, and he thought that I was the waitress. So he was like trying to give me his drink order. And I was like, oh my God, wow, it's so great to be like a woman in comedy, you know? Like, what an amazing ride. And I'm not trying to like throw him under the bus, but I'm just saying like that's happened to me plenty of times. There's been times where people are like, oh, you're the waitress. Oh, you're the headliner's girlfriend. You know, like people never, because there's like very few women in comedy, especially at like the big clubs. Like they don't usually have a lot of female headliners. So like even like female openers. So when you are there, people are just like, who is this? Like, do you work here? So yeah.
So funny. Yeah. Why do you think there are so fewer women in comedy? Like I was reading one of your blogs. I think it was like a week in your life as a comedian and what you did, which is very funny, and I enjoyed reading it. But you know, like one of the things you said, it was like you came home and you felt like you were a hometown hero, and you know, like how amusing it was to you because of, you know, people's reaction just because you moved to New York City, you know, and you were like, but I love that I was on this well, you actually had a show out here called Rage Against the Vagine, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was also at the comedy club in Webster back in the day. It was all female. I think now I would not name it something like that because I think that brings too much attention to the fact that it's like all female comics, but that was like 7 years ago, and I was like trying to do something cool for the ladies. So yeah, so I used to have that. It was fun. Yeah, thank you.
It's so funny. Yeah, I read that. It was like, that just made me laugh. But yeah, I think, yeah, it is true though. Like we had Cindy Zakaria. Have you met her before? She was one of our guests, and Mark Ippolito too, actually, on our like one of our first few shows. And yeah, it's not really that common that you see women taking that role on stage. And why do you think? Do you think it's just a confidence thing, or maybe women are afraid to be crass or to be themselves, or I don't know.
That's a good question. I don't I think I have like a couple different like thoughts and theories on it, but like I think that really a big part of it is like we grow up in a patriarchal society, and like you as a woman, especially if you're like a heterosexual woman like dating men, or just a woman who dates men, you have to like you have to like laugh. It's like anticipated, expected that you'll laugh at men's jokes, and men are taught to be like funny, and women are taught to be laughing at their jokes even when they're not funny. And I think that often, like, you know, when people say they're looking for a sense of humor in a partner, when they're talking about women, they mean like a woman who will laugh at my jokes. They don't mean like a funny woman, you know? And so a sense of humor for men means being funny, but for women, it means like being like, haha, that's hilarious, Brian, you know? So it's like I think that it's just a very sexist society. But in New York City, I see it changing. I see tons of female comics. Now number one on the charts is Perez, who's like really, really funny. And I do see women like out there doing it, but like, yeah, on the comedy charts, when I was number one, that was so cool. But also that was 100 albums, and only 3 out of 100 were women. So, I mean, it's a huge problem. It's a huge disparity. I hope it changes.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It would be nice to see more women in comedy, I think, for sure. You ever feel pressured to, like, by just people you meet to laugh, like, to make them laugh? Like, I know sometimes, like, if I tell somebody I'm a singer, oh, what do you do for a living? I'm a singer. And, oh, well, you're going to sing us a song, right? You know, do you ever have that, like, with comedy? Like, if you meet somebody and you're like, oh, I'm a comedian and an actress, and they're like, oh, okay, well, you know, tell us a joke, make us laugh kind of thing. Like, you ever feel that pressure?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I think I feel it more amongst like people like my parents' age, like boomers. Like they love to be like, oh, tell us a joke. And I'm like, no, I don't know. I don't want to. But I think that, yeah, I think people do that a lot. I think that as soon, and that's why like often I will not introduce myself to people with that, or like if someone brings it up and they're like, this is my friend Madeline, she's a comedian, it's like it's annoying because then people are like, oh, are you funny? What are your jokes? What do you talk about? Or they'll be like, here's one for you. And you're like, I don't want your joke about this woman at your office. Like, I'm not gonna, like, this isn't like relevant to me. But like, so yeah, I do get that a lot.
It seems like you have a lot of support from your family, and that your family influences a lot of your stand up. Like I know the few clips that I saw that you talk about your father a lot, and I mean, was your family very funny growing up? Like, or is it one of those situations that you're just like so? Like I look at my parents, and my parents are extremely amusing, and I always did like impressions of them. My friends growing up always loved it, and but I don't know. They're just amusing to me, and I never would like try to be a comedian about it. But like, I mean, how easy was it to kind of bring them into your routine? And also, are you weary of talking about certain things because you fear that, they might get angry, or that you're disclosing too much personal information?
Well, they are really funny. My whole family is like very, very funny, and they're always doing like bits together, and my dad and brother are always doing these like accents and scenarios and stuff. But I think it's like funny in a way that it's so funny to your family, it's like all your inside jokes, and then when you like try to take it out into the community, people are like, what are you talking about? Like, this is, we don't understand. But I do sometimes. There was like one time where I was doing a show at Photo City in Rochester, like 3 or 4 years ago or something. And my dad was like, oh, all my coworkers are going, so can you like please just not do all these jokes about me watching porn or like asking for sex toys? Like, can you just please just like chill? And that was like the only time, because my parents are very like liberal and stuff. So that was really the only time I think that that he ever said anything about it. I think in general, he's pretty chill about it.
So funny. You are such a writer. I don't know if you realize this about yourself. Like I know, like for comedy, and you got to prepare your jokes and your stand up, right? So I mean, there's some writing that's involved in that, but also reading your blog and seeing your posts and stuff. Like I think you're a great writer. But yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your web series with your husband? So you guys released with Talking Back Productions a 4-episode web series called Failing Forward. Did you have a part in writing that?
Yeah, that was a few years ago, and it was the only thing I'll say about doing a web series is it's like a huge undertaking. So I don't know if I would do it again because it's so much like DIY stuff, and I was very exhausted by it. But Phil, my husband, and I, we did like write the whole thing together, and so it was just the two of us who wrote the 4 episodes. And now I actually am I just sold a pilot, which is very cool. So I'm getting back into doing writing now. But
good for you.
Thank you.
Awesome. I saw that, and I'm glad you reminded me of that. That's excellent.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh no, you're fine. No, I was just gonna say it's writing for stand-up and then writing for shows, like writing dialogue or writing, scenes is very different. So I think that now that I have a script supervisor and I have executive producers and stuff, that makes it easier because you're like, okay, someone is like kind of guiding me. But for stand-up, my writing there is basically just like, I'll just have something funny happen to me and then I'll talk about it on stage and exaggerate it. So it's just a very different kind of writing process, I think.
Very cool. Well, yeah, I wish you luck on that. That's so exciting. And also, aside from that, you just recently released your first comedy album, and it made it to the charts, right? It was a top, where was it, top 30?
At first in the day it was released, at first it was 30. then it was 9, then it was 3, and then for a short, beautiful time period, it was number 1. But it was only number 1 for like 10 hours, but it was glorious.
Well, congratulations. What a great milestone, you know, like in a short amount of time. So, you know, wherever it is now, I mean, congratulations. That's exciting. What inspired you to do this album? I mean, what can our listeners expect from this album?
Well, it's just, I think that it was just sort of that I had been doing stand up for 6 years, and I felt like, okay, I've accomplished some things. But I also sort of had this feeling of wanting to have like a collection of everything that I had done over the past 6 years. And then also, like, this is very sad, but like my close friend passed away, and I had this sense of like wanting to do something kind of like to dedicate to them. And then also, I think when someone really close is like someone who's really close to you dies, you kind of are like, oh, I want to have something in case, you know, anything ever happened to me. I'd like to have something that for people to remember me by, or just to have this sense of like wanting to put something out into the world that will like last forever. And I think that an album does that because, you know, stand up usually is so fleeting. You just have like these shows every night and it's amazing, but like an album feels more solid, like something that people can listen to for years to come. So I'm really happy with it. It came out really well. Yeah, I'm excited.
Oh, excellent, Madeline. I'm excited for you, and thanks for, you know, representing Rochester well in your endeavors, and you know, continued success and keep soaring. It's awesome seeing you.
Thank you.
It's an honor to watch you take this ride, and yeah, keep doing your thing. What more could we expect from you? Do you have any upcoming shows? I know Comedy World Live is not a thing, but you have anything virtually coming up?
Yeah, I have been, you know, for a while I was doing like a million Zoom shows. Now I think that they're starting to do more outdoor shows and stuff. It's like starting to wane a little, but I do have some Zoom shows coming up. If people want to follow me, like, my name is Madeline Smith. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. Also, my website is Madeline Smith Comedy. And I just post all that stuff there. So if people want to see, I did also, like I said, I sold a pilot. Hopefully the pilot will become a series. We'll see. But either way, that should be out in a few months. So those are the things that I'm doing right now.
Awesome. Well, keep at it, and thank you so much for being on our show. And I hope to see you live someday, really soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're
Thanks so much
welcome.
for having me. I appreciate
Oh,
it.
yeah. No, I appreciate you. Thank you. Hey, Sharita, you ready to rock out one more song for us?
Yes, I am.
What you got?
I wanted to take a moment and say this is a Doc Fisher guitar, and he's a local guitar maker and my neighbor. So check his guitars out online.
Cool.
I am the light that wakes you at dawn. I am the spark when all hope is gone. I am the one who will be there. Yes, I still be wearing flowers in my hair. Yeah. Oh. People try to break you, take your soul. You start to feel like you're losing control. Well, honey, you just call me up if there's anything I can do. I wrap my arms around you and I help you. You get through because I am the light that wakes you at dawn. I am the spark when all Yes, I'll be there for you. Ah, yeah, 'cause baby, that's just how we do. Yeah. I am the light that wakes you at dawn. I am the spark when all hope is gone. Yes, I'll be there for you. Oh yeah, 'cause baby, that's just what we do.
Ms. Sharita Perez, thank you so much for sharing your music with us today. And big thank you again to Madeline Smith. I want to share with you guys a little something. Yes, that was awesome. So today's show was about passion, and I want to share with you a little something that I learned. About 7 years ago, I was going through a divorce, and my ex and I were taking a stroll around our neighborhood, and we were talking, and very cordial, and just discussing, well, where's our lives going to take us from here? And one of the things he had asked me, he was like, Amanda, do you, like, what goals do you have? And what is your passion? He's like, I know you're passionate about music, but what are your goals? And I said, well, what do you mean? I have lots of goals. I have 5-month goals. I have 6-month, 5-6-month goals. I have a year goal, 5-year plan. Like, I have all this stuff planned out. He's like, oh. And he's like, maybe the thing is that I don't really know what I'm passionate about. And I remember looking at him, and I remember thinking in my head, I felt sad for him, because I was like, oh, I feel so lucky that I know what my passion is, and I feel this passion for music, and that's my driving force for everything. Now looking back on this, about 7 years later, we fast forward, and I've learned so much in all this time, and I realized how shallow it was to have even thought for a second that maybe, like, I don't have to feel bad for this person, because there's only a small minority of people that actually really know what their purpose is or what they want out of their life. And as we continue traveling the course of life, we learn new things about ourselves all the time, and we learn our passions, and our purpose begins to shift and change and evolve, just as we're evolving. Passion lives in realizing, to me now, and what you have to contribute. To live a life full of meaning and value, you don't have to follow your passion. Your passion follows you. I heard this speech this morning, and it was a commencement speech for Columbia University. And it was from a man named Ben Horowitz. And I just want to read you the thing that stood out to me in his speech. It was a quote. And he said, following your passion is a very me-centered view of the world. When you go through life, you'll find, what you'll find is what you take out of the world over time, be it money, cars, stuff, accolades, is much less important than what you've put into the world. So my recommendation would be follow your contribution. Find a thing that you're great at, put that into the world, contribute to others, help the world be better, and that is the thing to follow. And I thought that was so powerful, what he said, because it's so true. It's not about having to define what your major in life is, right? It's not about having to narrow it all down to just one thing. Your passion and your pursuit is always going to be evolving, but think about what you want to contribute and what you could put forth into this universe that's going to better not only yourself, but the people around you, applying those skills and applying all these great trades that you pick up along the way and putting it forward. That to me is passion. I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. My name is Amanda Ashley. This is episode 36. Thank you again to today's guests, Madeline Smith and Sharita Perez. Thank you to Beau Productions for always making our set and lighting and, taking care of the technical end that I have no clue about. And to our sponsors, Compeer Rochester, we had Jewish Senior Life, Electronic Merchant Systems, Untamed Events, Salvatore's Pizzeria, and Sawmill at Blades. Thank you for your support, and to our Patreon supporters for making this thing that we're doing here even possible. So I wish you guys an amazing weekend and an amazing Friday, and we'll be back here this Monday with a brand new show, and I'll see you then. Thank you.